Everyone dreams about living an uncommon life, but how we define that dream is very different for each of us. And for most, it's a lifelong pursuit. Welcome to the Uncommon Life Project podcast. We're going to introduce you to people who are living that life or enjoying the journey to get there. We're going to also give you some tools, tricks, and tips for starting or accelerating your own efforts to live an uncommon life, a life worth celebrating and savoring. Please welcome your hosts, Brian Dewhurst and Philip Ramsey.
Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of the Uncommon Life Project, where I'm your host, Philip Ramsey.
And the Aaron Kramer.
I gotta love it. Thanks for tuning in. We got another guest for you today. We've been shooting a lot of these and I absolutely love it. If this is the first time you're tuning in, we're financial advisors who really think that you're your best asset. We want to help you pursue your passion with your money. Which is kind of a different way to invest. So I would say we're the advisors to the unadvisorable. The entrepreneurs seem to love us. We hope you do too. All right, here's the person we have on the show. It's actually Aaron's guy.
Yeah.
But I'll introduce what I know. His name's Chase Canuck, and he owns Knock Knock Tile. He's based out of Cedar Falls, Iowa. He's an entrepreneur. You can see why we have him on the show.
Yeah.
29, married to the love of his life, have 2 children, dominating in his business. Welcome to the show, Chase. Let's go.
Come on, Chase.
Thanks for having me.
Man, you sound good over there. That's exciting.
Love it.
All right, dude. First, where do we start? Was that the best bio you've ever heard in your life or what?
Yeah, you make me sound way better than I probably am, but let's go. Give you a little bit more.
Nice. All right, full disclosure. This is your first podcast. I like to say this because you don't sound like this is your first podcast. You're going to sound like a freaking rock star doing this.
Yeah, we're like 45 seconds in, guys.
Even better. Dude, where do we start? Let's start with your, when you were young, what did you think that you would do, when you started, what do you want to do when you grow up? How did you answer that question when you were younger?
That is a good question. So I originally wanted to be a firefighter. My grandfather was a firefighter, and all through high school, I was motivated to do athletics and pretty much anything I could be involved in. But
because you're a wrestler, right? You wrestled.
Yeah. Okay. Aaron, you were a main reason why I wrestled in high school.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
This is exciting.
Yeah. So
honor.
Yeah. Aaron's dad and my dad were good friends in high school. And I always remember my dad saying, yeah, Matt's got kids that wrestle. Do you want to give it a shot? I'd be like, hell yeah, let's try it.
Hey, you were good too.
I was not nearly as good as you. You were a freak of nature. No. Still are a freak of nature.
He really is. He really is. Do you have cauliflower ear? Just quickly.
No, I don't. I was never blessed with weak ears. So maybe I didn't try hard enough. I don't know.
Well, no, funny story there. I tried to give myself cauliflower ear with an Axe bottle and realized you got to hit yourself pretty hard.
Okay.
I'm never going to hit myself that hard.
Just the editing team needs to just edit that whole thing. I'm totally kidding. Totally kidding. All right. So you wanted to be a firefighter.
Yes.
And did you say you had somebody in your life that was a firefighter? That's why you kind of wanted to go that way?
Yeah, my grandpa was. And actually, I wanted to join the military right out of high school. If you had asked me most of the way through high school what I wanted to do, I wanted to join the military. But I then fell in love my junior year of high school. And I was really just wanting to join the military because I didn't know what else I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So
a lot of people's stories.
The other people in my life, my mom and my wife, my current wife, well, my only wife, but she was also my girlfriend in high school. So
that's you guys met your junior in high school, right?
Yes.
Nice. Yep. What was her name? What is her name?
Her name is Abby.
Abby, welcome to the show, Abby. Even though you're not on, you are a big part of the show. So, okay. So you met Abby and your whole life changed. We're not doing military anymore.
No. So the closer we got to graduation, her and my mom both were like, hey, you might want to choose something that you want to do. And so firefighting was a similar concept, kind of that military structure, if you will.
Serving.
And yeah. So I went to Kirkwood Community College in Cedar Rapids and did their night program. All their classes were at night. I worked full time and
Are you just getting your gen eds at that point? Like you don't have like a certificate of like fireman, do you?
Yep.
Or am I crazy?
During that program, you get your firefighter 1, your EMT, and you become certified as a firefighter. So
that's sweet.
After the program's over, you can apply to most jurisdictions, most firefighting cities, most cities that have fire departments. So,
okay. What did Abby do? Because we got to talk about her now because she's in the picture.
Yeah.
What'd she do after high school?
So she went to Iowa State. Go Hawks.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that.
So she went to Iowa State and she went there. I can't remember what she originally wanted to do, but she got her psychology degree, and then after Iowa State, she wanted to become an occupational therapist. So I don't know if I'm getting ahead of myself.
No, you're doing good.
She got accepted into Creighton out in Omaha.
Oh, and the Harvard of the Midwest, as they say.
Yeah, well, shit, you pay for it too. Good golly. So anyways, we both moved out to Omaha right after we got married, and she went to Creighton and I started working out there. So
as a firefighter?
No.
Oh, come on, Chase. What job? What'd you do?
So this is where it gets fun.
Yeah.
We're all about. We get married and we're going to move out to Omaha. And I didn't know 2 people out there, but somebody that I was close to knew of 2 people. One of them ran a pawn shop out in Fremont, Nebraska.
I love it.
And I was like, I don't have a job. I have few skills and I like to work hard. So what do you got for me?
Yeah.
And I was selling guns out of a pawn shop for about, that was probably a month. And then as I was doing that, the other guy that I had originally contacted, and when I was working at the pawn shop, I was getting paid like $11.25, $11.50 an hour, which was okay, but
sounds about right out of college.
Newly married. Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. I like it.
That's exactly right. So this other guy called me, and it was for a real estate investment company. They had a bunch of rental properties throughout Omaha, Nebraska. And he said, well, you can pick up trash and you can help fix things around the rental houses. And I was like, yeah, that sounds fun. Like, I like to do construction stuff. I didn't have a ton of skills, but I thought I would learn, and I like to work hard. So that work hard kind of continues throughout my process.
There's a theme there. There's a theme there with Chase. Okay, that's good.
So he said, well, we can offer you like $12 an hour. I was like, yeah, let's do it.
So you told Hank from the pawn shop, listen, I'm done, Hank. I'm going to go to real estate, or like, so you quit the pawn shop, I'm assuming.
Yes, I did.
Okay. Yep. Got a better offer.
Exactly right. Yeah. And I wasn't like, at that point in time, I was like, maybe it's better, maybe it's not. I mean, it's 50 cents more an hour, but I really don't know. It seems more fun than sitting at a pawn shop all day.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your wife is all aboard as long as she's in Omaha going to Creighton. She's fine. Just do what you got to do over there. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I started doing that, and she's going to school, and I enjoyed working for that company. And I became a full-time maintenance technician after just being hired to pick up trash. Eventually, I worked for them for 1.5 years and continued working for them. But about 1.5 years in, we told them that we were going to move back to Iowa, and they offered me an opportunity to be a production manager out in central Iowa to manage all the flip houses that they buy.
Wow. Pretty big organization over there they're running.
Yeah. They did a lot of work. It was a great company, really good people, supported a lot of the things that we support as well. So, and as we were getting ready to move back home, I said, of course, yeah, sounds great. Let's do it. And so we moved back home. That was 2016 that we moved back to central Iowa.
Wait, so Abby at this point has her degree?
She did. She graduated. No, not yet. She had 1 year left at Creighton, but it was all field work.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yes.
And how long have you been married at this point? 1.5 years, 2 years maybe?
Yep.
Okay, 1.5 years. All right, good.
You're following along.
I'm right here, man. I'm right here with you, Chase. Okay. So you go to Iowa, back to Cedar Rapids.
Cedar Falls. Yep.
Oh, Cedar Falls even. Okay.
Yeah, we bought a house in Cedar Falls, and it was a fixer-upper. And at
Go
that point in
Panthers.
time, I had many more skills than I did a year and a half previously. So we started fixing up the house, and I was working as a production manager for that company, and it was really good. I was making good money and continued getting raises and bonuses, and that was great. So that was going really well. And then we go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, does this lead into like you like starting knock knock?
It does.
Okay.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. It better because it's your story here, Chase. Because if it's not, I'm excited to see where it's taking us.
It does, yeah. So then I've been working for that company out here, same company for I think it was like 6.5 years. And
Wow.
there were a lot of changes as far as my manager.
Uh-huh.
My manager had changed 3 times within like a year and a half or 2 years, which was a lot.
Yeah.
And so I was training new managers as they came on.
Doesn't feel great. Doesn't feel great.
Yeah.
It was, well, when I eventually quit that job, I was the longest tenured employee for that company. So
Says something.
Yeah. So now we're in the middle of the pandemic.
We're 2020 here, folks. 2020.
Yes, moving quickly. So middle of the pandemic, my wife quit her job. She got a new job. We were both struggling with raising a child.
Whoa. We didn't even talk about the baby yet.
Yeah, we passed right over that.
Yeah, we did. When was the first
wind back to that?
Yeah, let's pull back there.
Yeah.
So she got a degree from Creighton,
Yes, she
Harvard
did.
of the Midwest. I have to say that because my business partner that's not on the podcast, Brian Dewhurst, graduated from Creighton. And every time somebody says Creighton, he's like, oh, the Harvard from the Midwest. So I feel like I have to say that for the record. Okay. So
That's
she
awesome.
graduates. Then she gets a job in the Cedar Falls area.
Yeah, at that time she was working in the Cedar Falls area. Yep.
Okay, so when did she get pregnant and have her first one?
So she got pregnant in the fall of 2018, and then we had our first child April 29th, 2019.
Okay.
Okay. And then the pandemic hit,
Correct.
2020. You have one child,
Correct.
and then your wife is still gainfully employed.
She is.
Okay. All right. I think we caught up. Just
Okay.
got to cover our bases, Chase, you know?
Boy or
Yes.
girl?
A boy. His name is
Okay.
Mateo.
Mateo.
There we go.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, now we're caught up.
Good name.
Yep. So she was working for a healthcare company, and during the pandemic, healthcare workers didn't have the best work environment. So she was kind of struggling, and I was doing what I was doing, and it was fine. It was paying the bills, but it wasn't fulfilling me like I wished it would have. So
Working for
she
the man.
quit her job, and I was still working. And then she got a new job working from home. And around that same time, I said, "This isn't what I want to do. I want to start my own business, and I think I can do it." So,
Mhm.
How'd that
um,
conversation go?
Yeah. She was probably all for it. Like, let's go. Chase, I
She
love
was.
you. Let's go.
she
Awesome.
was, yeah.
We're 27 years old. Why not try it? Or
Exactly.
28 or whatever you were at that time.
No, you're right there at 27. Yep.
Yes. You're young. I will say this, like, it does seem really interesting that as we help, like traditional advisors help people, they always talk about risk tolerance and they're talking about your money. And everybody in their advice will tell you, well, the younger you are, the more risk you should put on right? Yet when they give you, or you ask them for advice about starting a business, they never take that advice. Like, oh no, don't do it. It's too scary.
Yeah.
And you should be like, well, I'm young. I'm supposed to take a lot of risk here.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
not a lot of people do that. It's very interesting. Not like, it sounds like you did it anyway, but I just think it's a really interesting kind of caveat and pivot just to tell people like, hey, when you're young, this might be the time to try something like starting your own business or this, that, or the other, because you have time to then reset if it doesn't go according to plan.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry to kaibo that, but
No,
keep
you're
going.
good. And it's
Right.
scary. Like at that time, it was scary. The one thing that I did have going for me, and I kind of passed over this, but 2 years previously, I was doing tile work. I really loved tile work. When I was doing maintenance work, I had a guy tell me that that tile work was something that a lot of contractors don't know how to do and don't want to do.
You're right.
Shit, this is fun. Let's give it a shot.
Right.
And I like doing things that other people don't enjoy doing. And I also learned that tile setters can make good money if they're halfway decent at what they do. Right. So
at what point were you working for that company out in Omaha or Nebraska and started realizing like how much money you were actually making them? Did you ever have that thought, or were you just like, listen, I think I can do this and I think I can make a living out of this?
Right away.
Okay.
Right away when I moved out to Iowa. Yes.
Right. Because you're gaining skills at a rapid pace.
Yeah. I was managing a few $1 million in real estate along with a team that I had in Omaha, but I was boots on the ground, saw all the numbers, helped buy all the properties, helped put budgets together, hired the contractors. So, I saw all that happening, and I mean, we did pretty good.
Yeah.
Knock Knock Tile. And that's when Knock Knock Tile was born, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, guys, when I started Knock Knock Tile, I was I'm making less money than I was at that other company. But it really wasn't a money decision. It was more or less doing something that I really wanted to do. I always wanted to be a business owner. And I feel fulfilled at the end of the day. I'm exhausted because I have 2 children, and children suck the energy right out of you. But
suck it right out of you.
But I feel good about what I did in a day's time. So.
Although this is what I love to ask our business owner clients, which have a lot, like, how much do you make a year? And they're always like, man, I don't know, because it's like, how much do you actually make? Because you have a business that pays for your internet and your car and stuff like that. And so it's really kind of hard as an entrepreneur to really dial in how much you get paid. So yeah, I hear what you're saying. You're probably taking in less income wise to your personal family.
Yes.
But the benefits that you have outside the, yourself and the company's taking on, that is a benefit as well.
Absolutely. Right.
And again, at the end of the day, who cares about the money? You're actually feeling fulfilled and you're passionate and you get to help people and do what you love to do. Amazing. Keep doing that.
But for our listeners here, to help them jump off the edge, if that's what they're thinking they're going to do, Chase, if you feel comfortable, you're 2 years in, I mean, what are you making? If you're okay sharing that.
Yeah, no, you're good. So what the company is making and what Chase is making is different.
Right. So let's talk about company. Yep.
Yeah. So we're set up as an LLC, but structured as an S Corp or taxed as an S Corp.
Yeah.
So the company brings in, last year I did have an employee, and we brought in or sold around $120,000 in projects. And we netted around 100,000 or just over 100,000.
Nice.
That's great, man.
Yeah, it's good. But myself, I pay myself about, I think it's $43,000 a year. So,
right.
I try to reinvest in the business and
it does help to have your wife working as well, right? There's a buffer there, and I'm sure that you'd probably take benefits from her. So this is something I think probably to go into a little bit. When people start going down this uncommon path, one, it's kind of scary, right? When you were first thinking about starting up your business, the unknown that you had no idea about were overwhelming at times, right? But if you take it one step at a time, all of a sudden you have this business. For example, that little pivot that you said, I have an LLC, but I'm taxed as an S Corp. That sounds super complicated for somebody who's not been in the business. What that means is you having a lawyer draw up your LLC paperwork, and then you sign your name on one document, and now you're taxed as an S Corp. Ta-da! All done. So it isn't that complicated, although the unknown when you first jump in is super scary. But then, now that you're in it, having the insight and having the flexibility that your wife works helps insulate you and the cash flow of your business, because we know that businesses always fail or normally fail because of cash flow issues. So you have that insulated, right? But you also have the thing of benefits. And I think that's another thing, working with a lot of entrepreneurs at the beginning of this whole journey. That's a big hang up, brother. I don't know what to do about benefits. So you already had that answered. So I love it.
Yeah.
Dominating at Knock Knock Tile? and you have one employee, which is a big deal. Did you employ them or did you like 1099 them? How did that work?
I did employ them. Yep. And that was more expensive than I originally planned on it being.
It really is.
I don't have an employee right now. He left me earlier this year, which is fine. It was right around the same time that gas was like over $4 a gallon, and he was traveling to and from work every day about an hour each way. So it turned out to be too much for him.
Right. But it is, as business owners trying to employ somebody, it always gets more expensive than you think.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is true. Okay.
I wanted to hit on something. You mentioned something. When I first started my business, I talked to lots of people about like what it took to start an LLC, like accounting and all that stuff. I don't know any of that stuff, and I don't want to. So what I found was helpful when I was starting my business was be good at what you want to be good at. Be good at setting tile, selling jobs, talking to customers. Like be really great at that and crush that, and pay somebody $2 a month to do your books.
Yes.
If it's $2. Normally it's a little bit more than $2 a month.
Did I say $2? I meant $200.
Yeah.
I meant $200.
Even if it's more than $200, I think there's wisdom in that. Like just focus on what you're good at, focus what you like to do. Yeah. And if you have the flexibility and cash flow to pay somebody, do it, and do it earlier than later. Yes. So you don't get burnt out. I love that advice.
That's exactly right.
Such good advice. So like, I know we were talking on the phone and you had mentioned that having your boy made a big impact on you wanting to start.
It did.
So tell us about that.
Really wanted to be a father, so ready to be a father, or at least I thought so. Parenthood's been the toughest thing that I've ever done in my whole life.
Yeah.
Like 50 times harder than.
Appreciate that honesty.
Yeah. I know Aaron has a child. I'm not sure about you, Philip.
I have 3 babies.
You know it then.
My wife knows it more than I do, probably.
Yeah. But yeah, when my son was first born, I had a really hard time with connecting with him. I was looking for this like magical moment in this connection with him. And I never really felt that. And I knew that he was my son and I loved him to death, still love him to death. But I really struggled with that mentally for a little while in not being able to. I don't know what I was looking for, guys. I really don't. But I thought that I didn't feel it. And that created a lot of angst and somewhat anger and shame inside of me.
Interesting.
And that was hard to deal with.
Yeah. So how did you deal with that? How did you process through that? Like, tell me about how Abby played a part of that.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's
eventually a pandemic hit. It boiled over. I had anxiety attacks and I went through a huge depression. So it went downhill before it ever went up.
It usually does.
But so that was right in the middle of the pandemic. And I was staying home with him and working and doing my best to, that's when I was with my old company, but doing my best to take care of him. And I remember being like, I don't enjoy this. This isn't fun. This is really hard. And again, that was right in the midst of a pandemic. And I'm talking about being a father. Like that was really hard, emotionally and mentally. So I was struggling with a thing that my counselor called intrusive thoughts. And they were thoughts that came in and I would react to them and they would either give me panic attacks or I would just shut down or I would just cry. It was a really tough thing for me to deal with.
Yeah.
But anyways, my wife saw that I was going through that and she was extremely supportive. And the best thing from the outside and getting through a lot of this is keeping it in was making it worse. So the more I talked about it, the more
honesty, the more you open up to other people.
Yes.
Yeah. Keep going. I love it.
Like it's such a simple concept, but it's really hard to do, especially when you feel a lot of that stuff.
You know what's interesting? What I find is when I get vulnerable and transparent with people, one, I'm super scared to do it, by the way. And my biggest thing, I think, is they're not going to accept me for who I am once I say it.
Yeah.
But it's funny. It's the exact opposite that actually happens.
Yes.
It absolutely is.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Like the more close people feel, the more honest that they know that you will be with them. And then the more like accepting they are and they become. And I find that they get more transparent and vulnerable after.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
So in the midst of all this, I was going to counseling once a week, and I did that for about 5 months, and I thought it was getting a little bit better, but I was still struggling. And then I found a new counselor, and this was 2021. Found a new counselor, and I asked her, of course, explained what I was going through. I asked her to challenge me, like really challenge me with what I was dealing with. And she did. And about a year and a half later, I ended counseling. And of course, I still struggle with a lot of the things that I was dealing with when it was hard. But I now have the tools to get through it on my own, and I can still go through my daily life and not be afraid of what might come up in my mind.
That's awesome.
That's so cool, Chase. Thanks for sharing.
How old was your kid when you were having a lot of those feelings?
Yeah, so like 16 months, 17 months, 18 months.
I can kind of relate a little bit, like just as a dad, you get this dadhood thing, and I didn't have it to the extent to you, so I don't want to like say that, but it's just when they're infants, you feel so like useless as a dad.
Yeah.
You're like, what am I supposed to do? Yeah, like my wife's like breastfeeding, like taking care of her.
They
all
do
this
everything,
stuff. Do everything. I just feel useless. I'm like, what am I supposed to be doing? And so I know I threw myself into work, but I totally feel you, man. That's a hard thing to feel, especially as a dad, because you do feel all this responsibility and when you don't know how to have that express that relationship. But has that gotten a lot better than with your son?
It has, and it was absolutely, and it had nothing to do with my son. It was everything to do with me internally. And I know that's not how you meant that, but it was everything to do with me internally. And of course, I worked on myself. And guess what's improved since I started going to therapy and working on all that? I bet
your marriage. Your marriage,
exactly. Our marriage is the best it's ever been.
Yeah, right. Why do you say that?
Because we're honest with each other.
Right.
And it has allowed me to find a part of myself that I didn't know I had.
Right.
And now I'm able to show it to her and be honest with her.
Right. Let me ask you this, because every time in the show, we always give our guests kind of a time, a platform just to talk about their wife specifically and how much they've meant to you in your business, in your life. And you mentioned it a couple times, but my number one, the goal is just to get you laid after she listens to this. Totally kidding. But like, what sacrifices and what things has Abby had to do, and where would you be without her today?
I mean, she holds our house together, and she would tell you that. That's not a secret. Everybody in our family knows that. She holds a lot of things together. She's an incredible human being. But when I'm extremely detailed, I'm an extremely detailed person, and that is hard for me to make decisions. So when I have something in front of me, I'll just bounce back and forth and never make a decision. My wife will just snap her fingers and be like, do that. And it gives me all the confidence in the world to do it once she somewhat gives me that approval, but more or less that I just have her in my corner. And I'm sure you guys know how that feels when you have the person that you love in your corner backing you 100%.
Dude, let's conquer the world. That's how I feel.
Let's do it.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's awesome. So how's business today?
It's really good. I'm working specifically on my own. I'm kind of in a groove where I know how long projects are going to take. I know what to bid them out at. I have a lot of work. Work keeps continuously coming in.
Good.
So yeah, it's good.
Where do you think the business like Knock Knock Tile is going to go?
That's a good question. So like we talked about earlier, having and owning your own business, especially with a small family, allows me the opportunity to take care of my children and manage all of that. My business comes second to my family for sure. But like today, I worked for 4 hours and I had to come home and take care of my kids because they were sick.
And do a podcast, baby.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. So as far as like growing the company and adding a bunch of employees and adding a shop or whatever that might look like, I don't see that coming right now. That's not really where I want to be with a small family. definitely down the line, I could see something like that coming.
Yeah. I respect that a lot, because like so many guys like just forget about their family, and they build their business. They look back and they're like, "Oh, hey, yeah, my kids are graduating, and why won't my kids talk to me?"
It's easy to do, for sure. Yeah,
it really is.
That's awesome. Like, you're like way ahead of the game on that. So,
how do our listeners find more about you and Knock Knock Tile and get a hold of you if they wanted to?
So Facebook, Knock Knock Tile Construction LLC, and then I'm on Instagram at Knock Knock Tile.
Love it.
So, go look at his work. It's beautiful. I know. I was telling, I told Chase this, but I did tile in my bathroom.
Oh,
yeah, and I'm never doing it again.
I'm calling
ever.
Chase.
Yeah, and my wife's like, "We should do the other bathroom. Now you know how to do this." Like, nope. She's like, "Well, can we hire?" I was like, "When we have the money." Yep. I was like, "I know a guy."
Yeah.
I was like, "Got a guy. Gonna pay him to come down here."
That's good.
Appreciate that.
That's good. Chase, dude, I can't thank you enough for being on our show. And I appreciate just your vulnerability. Like, this whole mental health thing, I think is so prevalent right now. And I think what you said of just, you got to talk about it. You got to have a community, just to open up and be honest and transparent with people is life-giving. And so I can't thank you enough for just being open with us and kind of telling us where you're at. And I'm super grateful your business is off to a great start. I'm excited to get you back on the show in 5 years, and you're going to be like, I have 45 people working for us. And you're the guy. And it all started from a pawn shop in Nebraska. That's what I'm saying. Like,
exactly.
But thank you so much just for your time and expertise. And definitely, if this kind of intrigues you, definitely I would encourage everybody to reach out and just kind of give him a word, just say thanks, and encourage him along the way. But you've been listening to the Uncommon Life Project. I've been your host, Philip Ramsey.
The Aaron Kramer.
Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, go be uncommon and go jump off the bridge for your uncommon path. Let's go.
That's all for this episode of the Uncommon Life Project, brought to you by Uncommon Wealth Partners. Be sure to visit uncommonwealth.com to learn more about our services. Don't miss an episode as we introduce you to inspiring people who are actively pursuing an uncommon life.